When things are this bad, somebody's going to get rich. Welcome back to Let's Make a Deal in Magic the Gathering. I'm your host, MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for being with me on the channel today. If you have an overburdened player base, liquidity issues in the game, cash-strapped LGS's, overproduction by Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, add that in with some supply and demand issues where obviously the supply is outstripping the demand, somebody's going to get rich. It's going to happen. The question is who? Who is going to capitalize on it and find a way and already has enough liquidity to make it work for them? Because it's all about holding on and holding on for the long haul. When cards go up and down, on the financial side, we got the reserve list, cards go up. They shoot up to the stars. We're like, oh my goodness, that Tabernacle used to be 500. Now it's 1,000. Now it's 2,000. Now it's 5,000. But now it's back down to 2,300. It's a deal, Moxman. Should I go out and buy that? Hold on, we'll get there. Then you got the other side saying, oh my goodness, dual lands, man, trending sideways, good pricing. I know. But it comes down to who can afford to buy those high-priced cards and stick with it. It's pretty pricey. And when those cards go up, they only go up so much. They're usually the last cards to go up. It's the smaller cards that go up first. The cards that kind of had a buyout, kind of been there, kind of not. When you look at some of the cards that have gone up in the past and you see where they've dropped down to, all you have to do is ask yourself, is it playable? Does it have a home in some format? Is there people who might want to get this card? Do I need this card for my own collection? And after you add a few of those pieces together, you can decide for yourself if something is a good deal. But it is a good deal because you can see the previous highs. And then you ask, if I buy this, who am I going to sell it to? Good question. Who are you going to sell to? But better yet is, when are you going to sell it? Be prepared to never sell it. Be prepared. But with prices looking as good as they are, I'm betting at some point the market will start to turn. Inflation is slowing down. Things are getting under control. There's been no catastrophic recession, although there's lagging indicators saying, yes, there's been layoffs and yes, there's bad things happening. Right, Hasbro? Got some bad news for your employees? It's coming down the pipe. But I'm going to show you guys some hidden gems today. Because although things are rough and they're bad, somebody is going to get rich off this. The cards I'm going to show you, the prices we're seeing, they can't hold forever. History tells me it won't. And if it goes wrong, hey, it goes wrong. That's what happens in life. No guarantees in life. I'm like the weatherman. I get paid for the attempt. That's a good one, right? So here we go. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at some stuff. And let me show you some of these hidden gems and why I think they could be important to you and your collection. Now, for those moments in your life where you just want to break bread and have a peaceful evening, the Peacekeeper from Weatherlight is for you. This card has been $75. That's how high this card has been. And now a near mint copy is $24.73. When you don't want somebody knocking at your door in a game, this one says during your upkeep, pay 1 white and 1 generic or bury the Peacekeeper. But creatures cannot attack. That includes your own, but this person standing there reminding everyone to be peaceful with each other and do not strike out in anger will be the one to save the day, the one to make things happen for you. And for 1 white, 2 other, this thing can be splashed into so many decks. So many commander decks can have this card as a backup emergency creature to save the day. That, why is it not being bought more? I have no clue, but it's a hidden gem at this price level. Now our next card, and this one, I want to see who argues with me. Come on, argue with me about how great this card is. So, this card's like $1.50, again from Weatherlight, and that's the Athenic statue. Now, when we take a closer look here, it is an 8 casting cost artifact that you can pay 5 generic, and until end of turn, the statue is an 8/8 artifact creature with trample. Now, let me explain where I'm going with cards like this. We already know that there is a multitude of board wipes out there. There are so many ways of getting rid of that battlefield that it gets pretty scary. But a card like this can sit on the sidelines doing absolutely nothing until you need it to be something. People will always have to be aware of it. They're going to have to focus a destroy card, a bury card, an exile card, just thinking that this thing might come to life and come stomping at them. But at the same time, there are ways of copying this card. There are ways of making duplicates of this card over and over again and again and again. And you don't have to do anything with it until you need it to be something, until they have no cards in hand, until you've drained an opponent of their resources and their ability to fight you. And then this statue comes to life. And I mean, it comes out of nowhere, thumping down on people. I love it, guys. Cards like this shouldn't be ignored just because they're kind of clunky looking. With all the board wipes nowadays, this is an amazing card to have around just to hold people off and make them think twice before coming to mess with you. Now, Tithe is another card that has been quite high before, guys. Another $75 card that's now less than $25. And a card like this, it should go into every white commander deck, but let's face it, not everyone has this card yet. It is 1 white, and it's an instant. That's right, it's an instant. All right, search your library for a Plains card. If you control fewer lands than target opponent, you may search for an additional Plains. So that's 1 white for 2 land cards. That's right, I said it. 1 white for 2 land cards. Have you ever used this before and kind of attached it to another certain artifact and do it every turn? Yeah, that is such a fun way with the Isochron Scepter. Just something to think about, guys. Fun cards, lots of possibilities, and basically cost nothing. And remember, guys, if you're shopping for any of these cards, if you're going to TCG Player, please remember to use my affiliate link. It's found in the description of all of my videos. You click the link, it takes you to TCG Player, and anything you buy there, the Moxman gets a kickback here on the channel, and I really appreciate it, guys. For those who take the time to do it, it makes my day. Now, the next card. Zirlin of the Claw, which apparently I could not focus properly here. Let me just bring this bad boy a little bit more in close. You can see that beautiful name. See, there it is. There it is. Zirlin of the Claw. Now, this card has been up to 45 bucks, okay? This thing has been pretty pricey. But when you look at this card now at $15, and you say, it's dropping like a stone. It's only dropping because supply is outstripping demand for this card currently. Let me explain my reasoning here, guys. Zirlin of the Claw is a 3/4 for 5. That is not a great card. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. It's downright pathetic by today's standards. It's what it can do for you. That 2 red, 1 other, and tap ability. Search your library for a dragon card. Put it onto the battlefield as though it was just played. Shuffle your library afterwards. This creature is unaffected by summoning sickness. Remove it from the game at the end. Imagine using the Ancient Gold Dragon, bashing across the battlefield. Instead of paying 7, you paid 5 and used it on the next turn. Remember that Ancient Gold Dragon you have to roll a dice. And if you roll the right dice and you roll D20, you get 21 ones. Yeah, the big gold dragon leaves play, but you get tons of beastie blockers. And all of those dragons, the ancient dragons, have game effects that are just game ending. Almost like the good old days of the original Planeswalkers. And I look at this card Zero and I say, that's a key card, man. It's a key card that now is going to Worthless Town. Nobody cares about it because those who were building their tribal dragon commander decks, like Minimox, building the same thing, have already got their copies. But does that mean that nobody is ever going to try to build a new dragon tribal? Of course not. Of course they're going to build it again. Other players come in and say, yeah, that's a pretty fun deck. I want to try that one out. Not everyone is going competitive EDH. Some players just want to play and try crazy stuff, and these are those key cards you got to have. Now, the Envelope Bogarden we've talked about many times on the channel here, guys. This thing, and forget the price you're seeing, by the way. That $41, I don't know where that is in Mythical Land, because you can find it on TCG Player right now for like 27 bucks. Okay? I think a light played one is 32, and a near mint was 37 to 38. It's very inexpensive compared to what we're seeing here. But this card's bottomed out. There's no reason it should be this cheap because it's a 2 casting cost generic artifact. Each player skips his or her discard phase. During each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card and then chooses and discards a card. There are so many ways of using this card. There's so many combinations and crazy town things you can do, especially with decks that rely on drawing, that it shouldn't be ignored ever, because it's a reserve list card that has been as high as $190. And here we have it for like 30 something. Are you kidding me? Guys, I love when cards are this cheap because these gems are being missed by almost everyone who's clamoring to get the new Phyrexian this, the Slick Oil that. Maybe they're going back to buy some Dominaria remastered. There's stuff they're after. I get it. Crazy town stuff, but still, you got to keep an eye on it. Now, how about Didgeridoo? That's right, I said it. It's a Didgeridoo. and nobody even knows what I'm talking about. I understand. It's one of those cards you're like, are you serious? A Didgeridoo? But yes, the Didgeridoo is from Homelands. It's one of those cards that people say, what is going on with the Didgeridoo? And it puts Minotaurs into play. It's a 1 casting cost to get this thing out. And then 3, take a Minotaur from your hand, put it directly into play. Now, a card combination you need to have is, you have this out, that's great, but you need card draw. Because you'll be dropping Minotaurs like mad. You got to have ways to give them haste. And there are some beastie Minotaurs now. There's some crazy guys out there. It's not like the old days. There's some other reserve list minor guys who are like nothing, but they're still fun to add out because they add some +1s and some cool stuff. But this is a key card to get. And it's so inexpensive now from Homelands. This card is so inexpensive that you really should not be ignoring a card like this, okay? Now, Alabar's Carpet is next, and that's from Legends. Now, this card, you again, ignore the price you're seeing on the screen. That market price stuff doesn't make sense to me because I found it lightly played for $35 on TCG Player. So take a look at this card and take a closer look. It's a 5 casting cost, but it says 5 and tap prevents all damage done to you by attacking non-flying creatures. So, non-flying, which means flyers will hit you. People will use combinations like this with things like Gravity Sphere. All creatures lose flying. They would mess people up with this. And this card, compared to a Force Field, right? Force Field is like a power 10 card. Compared to a Force Field for $600, this thing, yes, it costs a couple more to use to get out, but it stops all damage, not just a single. And it doesn't reduce it to 1, it reduces it to none. And there's so many ways of making things not fly for $30. And you notice I'm showing you generic artifacts that can fit into any deck. That's why they're gems. Because the old artifacts really could be played in so many different formats and ways that people didn't expect it. Now, I understand, again, guys, that EDH commander decks are going to be just game-ending decks. I've seen them. You know, power level 9s and 10s where it's like 1 or 2 turns in and the game's over. I understand. But not everyone plays Commander that way. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it's true. They don't all play it to just end the game in 1 or 2 turns. That's not Magic. That's watching somebody else play a game. It's like watching a kid play a video game, having another kid play a video game, or they're watching a guy on YouTube play a video game. No. If you want to play Magic, play some Magic. The next card is Life Matrix. Now, again, this one, same thing. It's not this expensive. I don't know why these market prices and averages are out of whack, but you can find it way cheaper than this. Now, Life Matrix, by the way, Amy Weber, love that art, you guys know me. It's a 4 casting cost, 4 and tap. During your upkeep, put 1 counter on target creature. You may remove that counter at any time to regenerate. This is a very nice card for decks that don't have a natural regeneration factor. You're going to be destroying the battlefield, you're going to be board clearing things, you're going to be wiping things off the map. Having a card like this around to keep alive a key creature at that right moment is amazing. This is a great combination card also to use on other creatures, because it says target creature, but you get to remove the counter. So if you have a buddy in Commander who's dying, and you need to find a way to save them, maybe you're going to save that creature so it doesn't die, so it keeps them alive. There's some fun ways I've used this card recently that made players go, first of all, what is this card? What is it even? This card exists? Is this real? Then they have to look it up. It's hilarious. All right, next card. The Forethought Amulet, again from Legends, guys. This card's like $14. $14. And again, take a closer look. It is a 5 casting cost, which I know, but for ramping up mana and magic's pretty easy when you're playing Commander. Pay 3 during your upkeep, or the Forethought Amulet is destroyed. If you receive more than 2 damage from a sorcery or instant, that spell damage is reduced to 2. So, for game-ending giant fireballs, disintegrates, hey, it's a great card to have around. But realistically, that is not the way most games will end. This card at this price is going to be fun for a janky collection. Just to add to your collection. It's not going to be the most, viral card to use in some crazy combinations, but at the same time, it's still a little bit of a throwback card to have around and remind yourself how great this game was back in the heyday. A card like this at that price definitely speaks to me and says, why don't I have a near mint one and just pay the $28? All right, guys, the next card is going to be the Nova Pentacle, and this one is a fun card that you can find for $30, guys. $30 and the Nova Pentacle is yours. Now, this is great in non-creature decks like we talked about with the Peacekeeper and all the other ones, Pendril Mist, to make sure there's no creatures around. Nova Pentacle says 3, tap, redirect damage done to you from one source to a target creature of opponent's choice. So somebody's going to hit you for 30. You can redirect it to somebody else's creature. You can say, hey, I have no creatures, so I'm going to redirect this, and that opponent can choose a different creature. So he can choose his own creature, he can choose some other commander person's creature. And if you have a buddy in commander, you can bounce this back and forth and start picking off targets. It's hilarious to use. And it's only $30, okay? Like, when you look at these cards and realize where they've been, what those prices were and where they're at now, these may not be the cards for you. But as generic artifacts, anyone who wants to build a deck with these and may seek them out later in collection buying or later as a collector trying to build a full set of Legends or any of the sets, you got to look at cards like this because they fit anywhere. Nowadays you have colored artifacts, which are kind of a weakness, and they'll be derived to a certain color. But that's what Wizards wants to go with. They want to give everything a pro-con, where these didn't really have cons back then. Life Matrix and stuff just giving regeneration counters, those are not cons, they're all plus, no negative other than the casting cost. And there's lots of ways of sneaking artifacts onto the battlefield. And that's the stuff you shouldn't be ignoring when you're looking at prices like this. That's why they're gems, they're diamonds in the rough, waiting to be used and abused by the right player at the right time. And the current state of Magic with players jumping and humming and hawing and FOMO kicking back in over this new Phyrexian thing, supply-demand issues are going to be even further out of whack. And these prices are probably going to dip even lower. If there's a card you like, always keep an eye on it because you never know when it'll be the right time to buy. And that's what I'm talking about. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. Thanks for hanging out here at the end of the video because nobody makes it this far. Nobody comes to the end. Oh, wait. There are a few of you. The loyal. The ones who make it. I know. I remember. I'll see you at the end credits. Welcome back, my friends, to the end credits. The special place. The place where the patrons hang. These are the people. These are the ones who support this channel and show that they love being here with the Moxman. Guys, thanks again for supporting my channel, everyone. Oh my God, you're back. You made it to the bearded one here at the end. I gotta trim this beard at some point, but it's the winter. It gets cold up here in Canada. You're sitting there shoveling the laneway when it's like -40 and you're like, hey. So the beard helps insulate the beast of the Nacho Cheese King. Guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot of gems out there right now. A lot of good cards at good prices. If there was a card you were looking for, if there was ever a card you wanted on the reserve list, that is a moderate power leveled card, this is probably the best time to get it at this point. I know I'm focused on a lot of cards and I wish I had more funds coming in so I could pick these juicy cards up for my collection. I'm doing what I can to slowly pick off my targets. I hope you guys are too. Crazy stuff out there. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for being here, guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow inside the world of YouTube. Have a great one, everyone.